course, I clicked go just as I noticed that the other camera wasn't turned the right way. Anyway, I am back and I got a lot done. I am actually really happy with the way Max is turning out here. I think I'm going to trim his ears up a little bit, but I kind of like him right now the way it is. Gives me hope for my eventually building a gizmo. But he doesn't look like a Furby anymore, so that's good. I did some work on the hands. I got the palms on. Just put some glue on the armature and the palm, and then glued the two halves to it. Then I ran some contact cement all the way around, and it's just gotten tacky. Let me show you what I do here. This is a pretty old secret for most people, but basically you just start squeezing the edges together, and that'll round out those fingers so that you don't have to actually do any trimming on them. Just trying to encapsulate all that wire. I don't have to really worry about it being completely done, but the neater you are, the better. So then after it's covered, you have a little hand there with no thumbs again. I'll do the other one. You just basically just squeeze it together. And it also makes it thin enough that they'll easily fit into the hand, the fur. And then you have the other one. Actually, you should bend it the other way. So now that arm will, do whatever you want. But let me move on to making the rest of it. So that'll fit in there like so. Actually, it'll fit in there like so. And if you notice up here, it marks where the doll joint goes. Usually what I would do is I would just run the shoelaces out through that hole, or through a hole in the fur. But because there's no way to actually attach it, tie off these shoelaces, I use a doll joint on here. So let me get some fur, and I'm gonna make an arm. So I want to again think about now. Usually the body, the way I do it is I have the fur going away from the nose and then down, so it'll lay right. On the hand, the arms, I do it the other way, so it's coming down the arm like this. If there was a stretch, the stretch would go sideways, but I'm gonna do it that way, I think. This fur is getting so unruly. Okay, so now this right here is the salvage edge. I want to make sure it's farther along from that. I might as well do the other one too while I'm here. Oops. All I got left is the tail and the legs. So this guy's coming along. Okay. Okay, that's one side. Actually, there's the other side. Sorry, just cleaning up a little bit. So let me talk about this a little bit. This is that Plastizote stuff, and I really didn't know what this was when I first got it. For the longest time, I didn't have any idea. It's I believe it's pretty much the same stuff that it's a type of foam, but it's rigid, and you can actually shine light through it. You can do all kinds of stuff. I've used it to build. In fact, in Eddie's skull, because originally there was a mech in there, I have a piece of Plastizote that makes it more rigid. In Max, I put a piece of L200 to make it just a little bit stiffer. But what's nice about it is you can pin into it. So I actually use it as a kind of a cutting mat when I'm making patterns, because it actually makes it super easy to put stuff down. I've also used an old bulletin board, which works the same way. I don't even know where to get more Plastizote. If anybody has any suggestions, please put it in the comments, because I would love to hear that. In fact, speaking of comments, let me put those up. Okay. I going to trace this out. Oh, I meant to throw this away too, because I believe it's deed. Yeah, it's just about dead. That one's dead. There we go. So I need to figure out what I'm going to use for the palm, because Eddie has a white palm, so I just use the undyed fleece for that. But I don't have any gray, I don't think. I have some black, some gray that's almost black, that maybe I'll use that. Or I guess he could have a white palm. Or maybe I'll just take some of this fur and shave it down, but the less I have to use this fur, the better. Let me mark where that is. I think I have to take this up. Okay. And there's one hand. Let me do the other one before I accidentally put it on there the wrong way. And I want to flip it over because I want the hole on the other side. And the way I made Eddie, I believe, was I think I glued the washer in place right here. But I have a different type of no, I have a dowel joint that would work. Okay, I think I can do that actually. I'm gonna glue the lock nut right there in place, and then that way I can use it as a guide when I put the arm on. Because I put the post towards on the inside of the arm, so that way it doesn't stick the puppeteer in the arm. Because otherwise it would be on the inside of the body. Oh, look at that! I didn't realize there was a. That'll tell me where the that'll tell me where the tube should go right there. So. I guess I glued the tube as well. Look at the note. Okay. Okay, what did I do with my knife? My knife. Hey, good Charles. How's your day going? Your machine. I've been watching your quote unquote Fraggle build. I may have to cut this out with scissors. From the makers of videos about me sewing and gluing and painting comes me cutting stuff out. Your patterns have more details than mine. Going well. I get finished for the day. If I had known, I would have been following along today. Well, I only worked a little bit. I was putting the. I showed how I do the arms with the. I can show you this again. I do these rods where they have usually there's a bone up here as well, but I have a tube that's on the shoestring that makes it so that when you move it, it kind of moves more like an arm. But that was the most of what I did today. And I showed how to make armatures. Yeah, I didn't realize how meticulous my patterns were until I started posting them, and we're like, oh, I didn't realize how methodical I am about making patterns. Oh, this fur is gonna kill me. just need whenever I use a razor blade, I always think of that I Love Lucy episode where she's trying to save money, and so she makes her own dress. And then Ricky, after he sees the horrible dress that she makes, says, "Oh, you can make. You don't worry. You can use. You can have money to get a dress." And she says, "Oh, well, I need money for new carpeting too." And they say, "New carpeting? Why do you need new carpeting?" And it says, "Well," and then she pulls up the this big piece of carpet that's in the shape of the dress, and it turns out she used that to she cut out her pattern. She used a razor blade, and she went right into the carpet as well and pulled that up as well. Anyway, I think of that every time I use a razor blade on fabric, and now you will too. Yeah, let me think. It was in their second apartment, and that's about all I remember. I only remember that it wasn't the one with the brick wall; it was the other one. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you how this will go together. I'm just going to pin it in place. So this will go there. Each of these fingers will go here. And again, there's a place that, so I need to, did I have that on the pattern? No, but I am going to have to put one in there. So this arm is basically just fabric. This is where I ask him where the rebel base is. So I put these pins right under his fingernails. Okay, so then there's that. And then this will be glued in place. And then this has, this will have fabric, polyfill inside of it. And then when I so there'll be a doll joint here at the back. And then once I get this trimmed, you see, yes, his hand. You can see how that, well, let me just move it the other way. This is not the way it should be, but when he's being puppeteered, he that elbow will work Oh, you got it on YouTube. That's fantastic. Are you streaming live or other yeah. So I'm doing it on Facebook and I'm doing it on YouTube. And as soon as I get cleared, I'll be also on LinkedIn and Instagram. So I'm trying to do this a little bit more. I'm going to do this more often, that's for sure. And maybe have a regular schedule. My goal is to start doing these doing 2-day puppet builds pretty regularly, which probably will end up being more like 4-day puppet builds. But the goal is to eventually try and get them down so that I can do them pretty fast. I have a lot of projects that need to get done, and people always ask me about how I work, and so I thought, well, might as well do this. Max is adorable. He looks a bit like Hacker the dog. He does kind of look like Hacker, but he's going to get trimmed too, so he won't look quite as much. He's actually based on this real dog that my friend wanted me to build. I should have done some sketches, but most of this is based on the pattern I have for Eddie. So trying to keep that on camera for you. I was trying to do more like taped content for this, like little lessons and stuff, but I haven't quite got the hang of that yet. And most of what I've been filming for it is I very rarely get what I want on camera, so I'm trying to get that squared away with ease. And I think eventually I'm going to have some of these patterns available for sale as well, so you can follow along at home. What page are you streaming it on Facebook? Oh, it should be on my personal profile on the Steve Troop one. I want to eventually get that on the Puppet Troop one, but again, Puppet Troop is kind of like, it's pretty, I don't update it as much as I should, and I need to start working on that. Okay, there's the other arm. Oh, I'll just grab the same arm. I'll just pin this one on so you can kind of see, because I don't think I'm going to record me sewing this all up, just because I can't imagine anything more boring than watching me sew for several hours. Also, I still got to figure out what I'm going to use for the palm here. I'd hate to have to dye a bunch of fabric just to get what, about 4 square inches. Okay, so okay, so on. And again, I got to get some doll joints to put those in. It's all more gluing that I have to do outside. Okay, so now there we go. So you can kind of see, I can do that little thing I always do with Eddie, although the pins are going to get in the way, where you can cross his arms, wave, fix his hair, although the pins. But yeah, so you can see how, like, just that little bit of structure in there for the arms really gives it a lot of I don't know, form, structure, I guess is what the word I'm looking for. I think I'm going to take a little bit in from his neck too to make him a little thinner here. But I dyed a small amount of fabric last night for the Fraggles eyelids, LOL. Yeah. Do you have any extra? They looked about a pretty good color for his palms. I'll just have you send it to me. I actually have a lot of like just little scraps, but I don't think I have anything that's anything close to this. I do have some really dark gray, and I'm gonna see if I can use that. I also don't think I'm gonna put palms on him. I mean, pads on him like on Eddie. Or if I do, it'll, who knows. But. So Eddie is here, and you can see like the let's see, where is this? You can see his pads there, and that's just fleece for the palms. But no. You can see he can. There we go. He can cross his arms. And fix his hair. But yeah. I guess all that's left on him is to finish up the. I'll probably sew up one of these arms, and then maybe I'll do another one online. And then the fingers. I mean, I think I'm going to leave it long here, but I'm going to trim all the way up here, just a little bit to give him a little bit more definition for his arms. Are there any questions anybody has now that I actually have some people watching live? Oh, I got fur in my eyes. Did you put the ear mech in the puppet you're working on? So I did, but I didn't. I didn't intend to put an ear mech in, but it kind of happened. So I used that wire. Let's see if I can get it to work. Let's see. So I don't know if it's working, but I got to figure out if this even works. So you can see I can kind of, well, it doesn't really work. So no, there's not an ear mech in here. But you can actually, like, I think if I get that wire turned just right, he can actually, like, I think it'll be able to turn those ears. The other thing is when I pull down on that thing, it does scrunch down the top of his head. And actually the posts for the eyes are there too. So you can kind of do a little bit. This is such a malleable face shape that you can kind of do some stuff with it. Again, I'm still kind of figuring that out, but I hadn't expected that bar to actually hit in the right spot. I think it's just a matter of getting it moved in a position where I can use it. I did have an ear mech in Eddie. Oh, there we go. So it's just by like looping my middle finger in there, and he can still talk. Hi, how's it going? Let's see, ring finger. So, oh, hello, there you are, and then he can kind of Move those ears down. He had a mech. I pulled it out. It didn't really work. I tried to do this thing where it had all this tubing in there that went down to a little bar right under the finger. It was on a little wooden bar, and it worked at first. Because Eddie has such a small nose, I have to operate it like this, and then these two fingers are free. And so I was like, if I had a bar there right in his chin, if I pulled it, it would pull the ears down, and it kind of worked at first. But what ended up happening is that bar broke about a week after I got it all put together. So it never quite worked right. And then I could kind of pull it if I didn't have my fingers in the grip. And so it was just a big pain. And as I got older and older, the tubing started to come undone, and it was always like scratching up the top of my hand. So I was just going to use it on some sort of shoot. And so I took a razor blade up in there and I cut out all the tubing. So it doesn't have anything in there anymore. I think I'm going to build another Eddie at some point, because there's something what is it I wanted to change on him. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything in there. Yeah, there's nothing in there anymore. It's just smooth up there. I want to make removable arm rods on him, because as great as this is for just messing around, he ends up there's been a couple of times like where we're shooting with it and I wanted not to have an arm rod on there. So I think I'm going to put removable arm rods on him on the second version. I like this puppet though a lot. So let's see. Yeah, none of these guys. Only one that has removable arm rods is Strange Pork here. This is a really old puppet. This is from when did I do this? 2000, I think either 2000 or 2001. It's actually 2000 I made this one. So he's been around forever. This is Ralph. You can see though, because there is structure in here. Oh, you know what this is? This is a tube of foam. And then there's a zip tie right here that makes the elbow, but it's so stiff you can't do too much with it. But his rods are actually made from skewers, from metal skewers that I just drilled a hole into the half-inch doweling down here and sunk in epoxy. And then, so it's actually a rod that's kind of a hexagon shape that goes up here that's covered in gaffed in Gorilla Tape. So that's how I used to do it back then. But the funny thing about this one is he has removable arms. So it's a doll joint that just has a piece of gasket rubber on here that keeps it in place. But all I have to do is pop that off and his whole arm will come off. And one time Eric was using this thing, and he came across a cosplaying Darth Vader who hit him with the sword as if to dub him, and he was able to pull the arm rod off. But the idea of having those separate, or having them, I lost the chat. The idea of having that as a removable arm rod was, originally I was going to make a separate arm that didn't have a rod in it that was attached. And that would be how I would change those out. But I never got around to making those other rods. So anyway, I'm going to get to sewing, and then I also have a class I need to teach in about half an hour. So I will maybe pop on one more time tonight, or maybe not until Monday. So